Hey everyone, I am free. It's November 20th, 2024. I'm in the city of Olympia, Thurston County, the capital of the Communist Empire of Washington State, heading on over to the Office of Women's and Minorities Business Enterprises. I am looking to inspect their Public Records Index in accordance with WAC 326-1470. Excuse me, 326-2-140. Section 70 is their availability of hours. I'm going in there to inspect the records index and also to look into what may be an incredibly significant public records scandal. The office has a public records officer by the name of Julie Bracken who has sent off a public record to the Attorney General of the state of Washington State saying that they are, the leadership of the office is deleting records and refusing to provide records in some cases, but not others.
All right, everyone, I'm going to read the email here, which I usually don't do, but in this case, it is so unusual to see this kind of an email from a whistleblower that it bears reading. Good afternoon. My name is Julie Bracken, and I am the Public Records Officer and Records Manager at the Office of Minority and Women's Business Enterprises. I write to you today to ask for much needed help in getting my agency's leadership team on board with RCW 42.56, the Public Records Act. There have been many misappropriations of records by leadership and interference with public records requests that are putting our agency at risk with proof. These people delete records and withhold them specifically for public records requests, and by me saying something to them, they have disciplined me and given me expectations that are outrageous and do not align with the statute. I have given these folks training materials, and resources to refer to if need be. I'm going through a grievance process now, and the agency leadership has agreed to additional training to help remedy this problem rather than arbitration. Because of the increasing risk and bad faith efforts on leadership, I'd like to ask if there is someone in your office that could provide this type of in-depth training to leadership to help them understand that it is not me personally that is asking for records and what the process is for a PRR from start to finish. Specifically, what their role is in responding to public records requests and letting me do my job as I have been for the last 3 years. I'd be happy to have a more in-depth conversation with you if you'd like. In appreciation, Julie Bracken. This is truly remarkable. It may seem like it's not a lot, but let me tell you, in the field of government, this is a big deal. She sent this at 9:54 p.m. on the 7th of August at night when she got home from work. This had seemingly, I'm guessing from all the information found within, had been eating at her for quite some time. And she did the right thing here. Julie Bracken did the right thing, seeking to have transparency in government and bring accountability to bad actors in government, like the leadership of this Office of Minority and Women's Business Enterprises. More to come with the interview here in a moment.
That is definitely illegal. Concealing or destroying records in Washington State is a felony. And the actual records officer has lodged a complaint with the Attorney General that that's happening. Now, I've already filed those records, lodged them with the Washington State Patrol. Yeah, got it. Okay, no money. Nice to meet you.
What's your name?
What's that?
What's your name?
I'd rather not give a name. I just want to kind of be anonymous here.
Sure.
I know it probably shocks you with my gator, but
Go ahead.
So here's what happened. I've been working on a story. I'm a journalist about public records for the Office of Women's Minorities Business Enterprises.
Women's Minorities Business.
Yeah, it's over in that building. So It's a state agency. So I went over there to look into this. Part of what led me to go there is an employee of that agency by the name of Bracken, Julie Bracken. I've got the email. I can send it to you. So she's the public records officer for that state agency. Okay. She said in the email that her leadership team is deleting and concealing state records.
She emailed you that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or I'm sorry, let me clarify. She emailed the Attorney General and said that her bosses are deleting and concealing state records, which is a felony from 401610.
Okay.
And so I'd just like to provide that evidence to you. Again, I'm not making the claim. This is a state employee whistleblowing. Apparently she's already filed some sort of a grievance. But as soon as I saw that as a journalist, because what I work on is a lot of like public records, stories, transparency stuff, I thought, wow, you don't really ever see somebody actually saying the quiet part out loud. So I wanted to send that to you if I could.
And you have all the information in the email, right? most
Yes.
information from her.
Yeah, so what I'd like to do is actually, I've got a link from the Attorney General's website because I got a secondary source that sent me the link.
Okay.
It's a huge file. It's 1,500 pages, but I can tell you exactly what page it's on so you can find it.
Okay.
But she literally says her leadership team, and she has proof, is deleting records and concealing records from people when they're doing public records requests, which is, wow.
Right. I'll
Pretty
see.
crazy, right? You don't really ever run across that, but...
Yeah.
Did you already tell him being audio being recorded?
Yes.
No, we got to let you know before.
Yeah, yeah, no, so,
Okay,
yeah.
all right, cool.
I think, yeah. So, you have my business card, right? My
Yeah.
email's on there. If you forward me all that information, I can take a look at it.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
Best way to get hold of me is my card right there. So.
Okay, and is there any way? Is there any way I could get a CAD number for this call, just to have something to refer to? Do you guys do CAD numbers on this, or
There will be one assigned to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
could I get that from you?
Yeah, I'll get it right on the back of this.
Sweet. Thanks, man.
I think I can go check right now.
Yeah.
It might have the number on it already. Let me look. Okay.
Sure, sounds good. Because at that building here in Olympia, the state agency's office for the Office of Women and Minorities Business Enterprises, that's technically on the Capitol campus, and the Washington State Patrol has jurisdiction in that location. Hello.
Hello.
Is Julie Bracken available?
She is not in the office at the moment.
Gotcha. Is anyone in the office? Leadership-wise?
May I ask what the question is?
Sure, yeah, just got some questions for leadership.
Okay. Just one moment.
All right, thanks.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Not bad. How are you?
Good.
I'm Chris.
Hey, Chris. Steve.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, likewise. What do you do here?
I am the Director of Operations.
Oh, great. Cool. Hopefully I can get some answers. I uncovered an email lodged with the Attorney General that states that this office's leadership has been deleting and concealing records regarding records requests.
Okay.
Are you familiar with this?
No. Am I familiar with the email that was sent to the AG's office?
Yeah.
I haven't seen the email myself, but I'm aware that it exists.
Gotcha. And do you know who sent it?
My understanding is that it was sent by an employee of the organization. Other than that, I don't know.
You don't know which one it is?
No.
Gotcha. Does anyone else know here?
Within the organization? The AG's office would know, but I don't have that information, no. And within the organization, to the best of my knowledge, nobody's been informed.
Gotcha. So what do you know about this allegation regarding the deletion of records as well as the the concealment of records, which in Washington State is a felony?
So, as best as I can tell, the requester for that information, or the provider of that information to the AG's office, had some concerns. Those concerns were then shared with us by the AG's office. We, in turn, did an entire leadership public records information training to verify, that everybody is aware of what our requirements and responsibilities are as an organization. That training was conducted early this month or late last month. As far as the allegations themselves, as best as we can tell from an internal investigations, that they're unfounded. There was one instance that did potentially occur that resulted in some documents or some transitory messages being deleted from a Teams channel, and again, they were transitory in nature, and so we had a coaching that was completed at that point in time. This would have been prior to my point in time with the organization. I joined about 1 year ago at this point. So as best we know, those are the only documents that would have ever been potentially involved in this situation. We have had regular conversations with our public records officer. That individual reports to me. Her name is Julie Bracken. I think you spoke with her last week. And Julie and I have been trying to work through what steps would be necessary, if any, to bring the agency into more compliance around the Public Records Act and public records requests that are coming in, or our ability to keep, destroy records. And there are obviously times when the destruction of records is actually required by the Public Records Act, as well as
Title 40.
keep them in. Yeah.
I appreciate all the information. So I do have some other questions, one of which you said you've been here a year approximately, right?
Correct.
So in this email that I discovered, the individual expresses clearly in the email that there's proof of multiple records being deleted or concealed. Can you explain the difference between your explanation now and what an individual employed by this agency sent to the Attorney General's office? I mean, that's a pretty serious disparity, and it seems to completely contradict what you're saying.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the information around those records or those specific instances hasn't been shared with me.
Who are they shared with?
Again, the Attorney General's office contacted us in reference to the letter that was forwarded, but I haven't received any information as far as specific documents or records that would have been deleted. For us to be able to do an investigation into a specific document that has been deleted, I need to know what that is, and that information hasn't been shared.
Gotcha. And no one has shared with you the identity of the person that shared that complaint with the Attorney General?
Not at this time.
Gotcha. And how come that hasn't been shared?
I don't know why the Attorney General's office hasn't shared that information.
Is it a whistleblower thing?
Could be due to wanting to ensure that someone avoids any sort of retaliation if that were necessary.
I'm glad you mentioned the retaliation word, because this individual has also shared that they've been retaliated against because of that information being shared with the Attorney General's office. Do you have any comment about that? Are you familiar with any retaliation?
No.
Gotcha. Are you familiar with exactly what those records, those transitory records are that you mentioned? I mean, you must be familiar with them because you identified them as transitory records.
All my understanding is that they were a Teams message that had been posted that we asked the poster to eliminate because they didn't have, they were not a clear representation of the work that had been conducted. So we had them delete them so that we could provide the proper info.
Gotcha. So just to make sure I fully understand, because I don't want to put any words in my mouth.
And again, that all occurred prior to my time with the organization, so I don't know the specifics as it relates to that specific transaction. What I do know is that situation did occur, and my understanding of it was that they were, again, transitory records that we just wanted to make an adjustment. For instance, not saying that this was the case, but something like the training is going to happen on the 28th, when technically the training was going to happen on the 29th. So the request was to delete the message and provide us a new...
And your best understanding, with your limited amount of time with the agency, is that's the only record, as far as you're aware of, that's ever been deleted or concealed?
It's the only record that's been brought to my attention that could be the case.
What about the issues of concealment? Because part of the allegation that's been sent to the Attorney General is that not only has there been multiple records deleted, but that there have been multiple records concealed. In effect, the implication is that the Office of Women and Minorities Business Enterprises is picking and winning losers, per se, as it relates to who gets different kinds of records. They're going to say, well, this person will get this. Perhaps it's embarrassing to the agency, so we don't want to release these, potentially. That's the implication. We don't want to release these for fear of being humiliated or embarrassed by the contents of that, so we're just not going to release it. That appears to be one of the concomitant accusations being made, is these concealing of records.
So in my time with the organization as the Director of Operations, again, our public records officer reports directly to me. My expectation has always been, the law specifically states what we are required to provide. We need to be following the law in every instance. That if the record exists, we need to be providing that record. There may be situations where we're required to redact personally identifiable information. There may be exemptions that are required underneath the law, but the expectation from my part is that we are providing whatever documents are available, because in my expectation, we shouldn't have anything to hide.
That would make sense. Is anyone available from prior to your time that can speak to me today regarding deletions and or concealments?
So neither my deputy director or director are in the office today.
Okay.
I'm literally the primary manager on.
As the director of operations, if I were to provide you with a phrase of leadership team, a colloquial phrase of leadership team, who would you consider that to be in this agency?
So there's multiple layers to that.
Okay.
Our leadership team language has changed even over the course of time that I've been here. I would consider that those individuals from our supervisory represented staff at the supervisory level up. We also have a strategy team. The strategy team consists of our assistant directors, our directors, and the director, the actual WBE director of the organization. We have a governance team, and the governance team consists of the deputy director, myself as the director of operations, the director of our business diversity and inclusion unit, and then the director of workforce development.
Gotcha. And is that leadership team, as you define it now, similar prior to your arrival, or has it been changed since then?
Again, it's gone through several iterations in my time here. There was a point in time where we called the leadership team that team that I referred to as the strategy team. So the assistant directors and above were referenced as the leadership team for about 6 to 8 months, and then we have since.
And that was prior to your arrival?
No, that was during my time here.
Okay.
So for about 6 to 8 months, what we were referencing as the leadership team was the assistant directors and above. Okay. Now we're calling that team the strategy team. That has been in place since July or August of this year.
Gotcha. So in light of that explanation, part of this document I've been able to get a hold of by way of the Attorney General's office is making seeming accusations that the leadership team over potentially a few years has been doing this. So if that were to include supervisors and above, and there's multiple people involved here, wouldn't it stand to reason that more than one person has deleted and or concealed a record, at least by the accusation?
Yeah, again, I can't address the validity of the accusation beyond the information that I have available. So,
what are you familiar with in terms of where the investigation from the Attorney General's office is now? Because that email is from August of this year. Obviously, we're a few months down the road now. Have you had any follow-up with the Attorney General since the lodging of that complaint?
The only follow-up we've had is to have the conversation about getting a public records training on the books, and then the public records training itself, and then messaging to them that the public records training had been conducted.
Gotcha. And since that training has occurred, has the ATG signed off anything that the case is closed or otherwise notified you that there's nothing else going on?
I don't have any information to that, specific.
Gotcha. Okay. Part of why I'm here as well is to inspect the Public Records Index, which according to the administrative code for this office found in 326.7.140 is chronological and contains certain things. It states that it is maintained. So obviously that's not something I'd have to records request. It exists and can be inspected during normal business hours. I'd like to inspect that if I could.
Yeah, we do not have a copy of an up-to-date Public Records Index at this point.
Do you have an out-of-date Public Records Index?
Not that I have available. So it looks to me, based off of our...
That you don't have a records
that
index.
We do not have a records index at this point in time.
Okay, and that's the official stance of the agency?
That is the stance of the agency at this time.
All right. Additionally, I noticed in the administrative codes found in Title 326, Chapter 7, Section 70, that the office hours are listed Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to noon and 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. While speaking with Julie Bracken, as you had mentioned, I did speak with last week, she had stated to me that she then got a hold of someone named Chris Skinner.
It's me.
Okay. So I wasn't sure if that was your last name.
Yep.
So you had stated that, according to her, and I want to make sure I get this accurate, that it's not putting words in your mouth here,
Yep.
that the language of the administrative code implies that the normal business hours are just when you're open. Is that accurate?
Those are the hours that we're providing service, not hours that we're providing in-person service.
Gotcha. So I don't know if you're familiar with this or not, and I don't mean this to sound sarcastic, because it's not, but administrative codes carry the weight of law in Washington State. They're just obviously for the operations of the executive branch. And so in this case, in light of the fact that they carry the weight of law, how is it that you guys have set alternative hours that conflict to law?
So we haven't set alternative hours that conflict with law. I will say that from an advice of legal counsel sort of perspective, I'm not a lawyer myself, but the expectation that has been, or the explanation that's been provided to me is that our hours of operation are 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. We provide services to the public 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. The times in which we are available for in-person services are Tuesday and Wednesday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. with a 1 hour break from noon to 1. So
then why does the administrative code then say specifically for public records that you guys are available from 8 a.m. to noon and 1 p.m. to 5 p.m.? Because that says available for public records.
Yep.
I came by on a Monday and you guys were not available for public records 8 a.m. to noon and 1 p.m. to 5 p.m.
Correct. So the expectation around the public records requests is that you can submit a public records request in a number of different fashions, including over the phone, through email, any method that you would find available to you at that point. We would then accept that public records request, do the necessary research to find those records for you, track those records down, determine whether we had the ability to redact or need the necessity to redact information from those records, determine if there are any exemptions that apply to those records, and provide those records to you. Doing that same day is not a requirement of the law, and so having the doors closed isn't impeding you from having access to requesting those records from us.
I do have a question then for clarification on a couple of things, and then I actually, ahead of that, I'd like to ask you, which lawyer from the Attorney General's office gave you this advice?
Which lawyer from the Attorney General?
Yeah, which Assistant Attorney General?
Our Assistant Attorney General is, well, we have a number of them,
Okay.
but as it relates to public records, it's Sharon James.
Sharon James, gotcha. Got a question then for you as it relates to the Revised Codes of Washington, Title 42, Chapter 56, which is the Public Records Act. In Section 80, subsection 2, it actually states that any person can go in person, and this is also corroborated in WAC 03006, where it states you can go in person to submit a verbal public records request.
Okay.
If your normal business hours are listed as 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. with the exception of the lunch hour, and you can come in person and do a verbal public records request to any agency, commission, etc., as defined in Section 2, subsection 2, Section 80, how is it that the person can do that when no one is here to do that?
You were successful in accomplishing that.
Yeah, but if a lot of people that send me tips and leads as a journalist are elderly folk, well, I won't say a lot, a reasonable amount, submit to me tips and leads because of their frustrations surrounding their inability to be tech savvy.
Okay.
They just have challenges with the internet, with computers, etc. They just prefer, you know, older folk can be sometimes. They just prefer to show up in person. So this is one of those incidents where state law appears to compel the commission, the agency in this case, to by your own administrative code, be available for public records 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And since the administrative codes surrounding public records allow you to do it in person and verbally during your own open business hours, how is it that you guys are arguing that your doors being closed Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays allows people to verbally and orally in person is what the WAC says, in person, do a records request at this agency?
The WAC that we have on file says that our business hours are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Correct.
Specifically. It
Correct.
says that our operating hours are 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Correct.
Monday through Friday. our operating hours are 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, and we will accept records requests verbally during those periods of time.
But not in person?
In person, if there is someone available in the office on those days, then we would do that. There wasn't anybody here.
Gotcha. So the in-person requests that are found in 4414-03006, which allow a person to do it during normal business hours, not operating hours, but business hours. You're saying business hours are 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. per your words right now. If those are the business hours and WAC 4414-03006 says that you can go in person to verbally submit a public records request during business hours, not operating hours, how do you square that?
I've already provided kind of the...
Well, it seems there's a disjunction between...
But, as I said, I've already provided the agency's position as it relates to our operating hours.
And that's because of your
hours
legal advice from the Attorney General's office?
Yes.
And that's from Sharon James, you said?
That is our public records assistant attorney general.
Gotcha. Okay. So I just wanted to double check before I leave because I don't want to jam you guys up on something that's not factual. You guys do not have today, right now, for me to inspect a public records index, even though your WAC says you will have it and do have it maintained.
I am telling you right now that a public records index does not exist for the organization.
Fair enough.
We would be happy to provide you with whatever specific public record you were looking for outside of the index because it doesn't exist.
Fair enough. Yeah, I was looking to have...
We are working to remedy that situation. Not necessarily as you and I speak right now, but there is work being conducted to remedy the situation of the index not being available.
Gotcha. Do you know the approximate age of this commission?
It was created in 1983.
Gotcha. So is it fair to say, as far as you're aware, that the agency has been out of compliance with the Public Records Act as it relates to the index since 1983?
It's fair to say that we have been in compliance post-1992 and then out of compliance at some point in time thereafter.
You've been in compliance?
We were, as of 1992, I'm assuming we were in compliance because that's when the WAC was actually created. So I can't imagine us creating a specific WAC saying that we would provide the Public Records Index but not having a public records index to provide.
And in that vein, I guess I'm having a hard time, and if you could help explain this to me and the viewers, with the Public Records Index likely being in compliance, as you said, with the WAC since 1992, but then you saying that you don't have a Public Records Index.
No, what I'm saying is that in 1992, when we wrote the WAC, I can assume that someone at that point in time, while I was still in junior high, had created a Public Records Index. Okay.
Can I view that one?
We don't have that document. It would be past retention times at this point.
The public record. So it's your position based on, I'm guessing, legal counsel from Sharon James, that the index actually does meet a certain retention schedule? Is that the position of the commission?
I would assume that any index, any document has a specific retention schedule. Whether that document...
But you haven't been advised of that?
I haven't been
Just
advised.
Just an assumption?
Yes.
Fair enough. Okay, do you have a business card I could get?
I do not have business cards with the organization.
Gotcha. Is there any way I could maybe, like a sticky note with your email address, contact number, that kind of stuff?
For sure.
Thanks. Thank you very much, Chris. You have a good day.
You too. Take care.
Take care. Chris Skinner has emphatically decreed they do not have a records index, and he's making an assumption that the records index was available as of 1992 when the WAC was created for the commission there. But boy, even if there was one, and the fact that they don't have one at all, and I clearly asked for any older versions, and he's saying it's not there. His assumption is that it's gone beyond retention. I mean, they weren't even aware of the Public Records Index being a thing, and therefore out of compliance with it. Kind of unlikely that they're familiar with the retention schedules regarding public records indexes or indices when they're not even aware of what a records index is. So that kind of seems like a whole bunch of silliness. That's it here for today regarding the issue of the Public Records Index and availability of office hours for the Office of Minorities, Women's Business Enterprises here in the Capitol, over in that building right over there, here in Washington State. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hit that all notifications bell so you get my stories out when they're released. You can follow me on X at I.A.M Free Auditing, on Facebook at Inland Auditing Media. And if you want to help keep my feet on the streets, you know what to do. You can go to the links in the description for Cash App and Venmo. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys at the next location. Bye.